Hey guys, I thought I would share a bit of the color correction, color grading process for an episode of Burbank. Here's Richard Soddick playing Art Babbitt, who's a Disney animator who's leading a strike against the studio in 1941. So the cinematographers did a really great job because all I had to do really was just make sure that the highlights and the shadows are all in the right place and the saturation is good. And then match between the shots. There were multiple cameras on this. Same kind of camera, which makes things easier. One of the cameras is a little more green than the other one, so fixing that. And also the wall next to him, to his right, wasn't matching in the wide shots and then the medium shots. So fixing that. And then something that I think I've learned doing this episode is about sunlight, because when you're making film, sunlight's supposed to be blue. It's actually cooler, even though sunlight you think would be warm. You think of like a drawing a sun in like a yellow circle. It's actually blue. If you're shooting on a sound stage and you want it to look like there's sunlight coming through the windows, it's got to be blue or bluish, cool tinted. So I thought I was being really clever because I went into the color grading this and I said, all right, I'm going to make all the highlights blue-ish. Like his shirt, for example, was going to be a little cooler. And it didn't work. It didn't work at all. I looked at it and it looked even more like we were filming in like a warehouse or something. And I was like, I don't know why it doesn't work. And so I just went back and I made things slightly, on the warmer side. And I don't know if this is like because in theater stuff isn't real, so our brains just want it to go with the common sense option, because we're obviously not outside, so why pretend at all, and let's go with like warm because that represents the warm sun, and like theater is more representational, I guess, of reality. I don't know. The blue light just wasn't working, even though this is filmed technically. So it could have gone either way because it's filmed theater. But theater won out in terms of like what color the sunshine was going to be, I guess. And I don't know much about theater lighting, if anything, really. So I'm sure that's in like chapter 1 of any theater lighting book is like sunlight. Actually, it's better if you use warmer light. So going back and forth between these shots to get them to match, focusing mostly on skin tone and then trying to fix that wall. I like to use the hue values so I don't have to touch any of those circles and it gets all messy when you try to like actually make highlights a certain color or mid-range is a certain color. If you feel like something's slightly just too pink or too green, if you look closely and you imagine the person you're looking at looks a little bit sickly, then you move the hue above 50 a little bit. And if they look like they're a little too pink, you move it like below 50. And then I got to move this power window that I use to darken the wall out of the way because we pan right. I don't want to have a blob of darkness and saturation following Richard in the air over his shoulder. So there you go. This is probably the least interesting scene of color grading that I did. But I don't know. I learned a thing about the sunlight. And also I think sometimes to me it's more interesting that it has to be like just tiny tweaks that are almost imperceptible to make something actually more watchable, I don't know. Whatever. You're probably asleep by now. This is like visual ASMR, I guess. So that's color grading on one of these.